Well, good evening, folks. It's Tuesday night, middle of lockdown. Welcome. Nice to have you with us. I'm Fraser, as you know, and this is actually our regular opportunity to sit back, relax, put your feet up, get real comfortable, and enjoy a little gin. So, hey, tonight we've got some fabulous gin for you to taste and some lovely stories for you to learn a little bit more about our distillers tonight. And so the gin tonight is the Dunedin Dry, and I'm going to introduce you to the folk from the Dunedin Craft Distillers in a moment. I just want to remind you, though, a couple of things about tonight. Please make sure you have your tasting glass or your tasting glasses, that you've got your little miniature bottle of your Dunedin Dry with the QR code in the back if you want to order a big bottle. Plus, you might have some of your sodas and mixers to go with that, and perhaps even a little bit of ice. But of course, more importantly, you've also got your tasting notes. So have those with you. Make sure you've got everything you need, that you're really comfortable. And can I suggest that if you've got any questions, any comments, or anything you want to ask, or give some feedback for our two guests, don't forget, it's in the comments box on the right-hand side of your screen. Just put them in there, and we'll make sure that they get to them, and they get a chance to respond to them. But enough from me. I want to take this chance now. Who have we got? Sue and Jenny from Dunedin Craft Distillers have got a fabulous story to tell. They've bring us a fabulous gin that we're going to enjoy tonight. But firstly, just to say, Jenny, Sue, lovely to have you with us. Welcome.
Thanks, Rosa. Nice to be here.
Yeah.
Can I just say, before we kick into saying hi to Jenny and Sue, I'd also like to say hi to everybody who's joining us on our YouTube live stream. So this is our first time trialing out YouTube. So welcome to all of those people that have joined us on YouTube. If you have, can you try popping a comment into the YouTube video, because we want to see how that comes through at our end as well. So that would be super great if you can do that if you're joining us on YouTube. All right, enough of the admin. Let's carry on, Fraser?
Yeah, and in fact, just before we get to that as well, just a note of a bit of an acknowledgement that, we're living in interesting times, and there's some pretty big challenges out there. So we hope that you're all keeping safe, and that you, certainly for those who've been in flood areas recently, that you're dry and you've got, you're managing to keep yourselves together and your whānau together. But as far as the lockdown is concerned, also challenging times, and so we acknowledge that. And lovely to have you with us if you can join us.
Yeah, what better excuse than to sit and have a wee gin together, is what I say.
Yep, indeed. So what's the backstory? Well, we first came across we made aware of what Jenny and Sue were doing. There was an article that appeared in the paper, and one of the members saw this and thought, oh, this is far out. What's going on here? And it followed on from there. And then earlier on in the year, met with Jenny at the Spirits Awards up here in Auckland, and we got chatting, and it's followed on from there. We wanted them in the box. Why? Because their gin is superb and their story is fabulous. Jenny, Sue, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background, and tell us a little bit about the Dunedin Craft Distillers?
Oh, you start that, Jenny.
Okay, that was a pass.
Quite good at it.
I guess it started from, we started unusually, probably for most distillers, with a waste problem. And the waste problem that we started with was became aware of the quantity of bread and bakery waste that ends up in landfill across Aotearoa every year. And it's literally thousands of tonnes, I think, somewhere of the order of around just under 3,000 tonnes across the country each year. And that's just the waste from supermarkets. And I was chatting to a friend one day over coffee, and she was talking to me about this. I hadn't realised the extent of it at all. And she said, well, we've got to be able to do something about this. Surely, to goodness, this shouldn't happen. anyway, I went away, didn't think too much of it. And then I sort of in the middle of the night, as you do, thought, oh, I'm sure you can make alcohol out of bread. And that's where it started. And, you know, when you just have an idea, you think, well, how hard can it be? Now we know.
Oh, we can relate to that, Jenny. We can totally relate to that.
So when was that then, Jenny, that you've, I guess, what from the genesis of the idea?
That was about 2019, yeah. It was September, October 2019. Yeah, so a wee while ago. Yeah.
And I became aware of it sort of late that year through the joint friend. We didn't know each other before we started making gin together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do each of you bring to it then? You obviously you bring different skill sets to it, right?
We both can laugh quite well. So humour, I think that's probably a key part. I bring sort of the skills from running commercial kitchens, which translate quite well to production of gin. So I'm used to food production, but it's the same sort of steps.
Right.
And Jenny brings the science and the computer stuff.
And
really
the arm waving.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we both arm wave.
I do this, and Sue just goes, right.
So common is sense of humor and arm waving, but specific contribution is food or catering and industrial kitchens, and then science and computer stuff.
Well, yeah, and we both really like gin and spirits generally, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The fact that we like gin helps.
Yeah, I think that helps a lot, doesn't it?
That's the sweet part.
Yes.
But I don't think I hadn't realised how gin was made. I just like drinking it.
Right.
I think a lot of our members can relate to that, actually. I think that's where we all started off.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Tom is in YouTube.
There are a bunch of people out there who, many of whom are saying, so can we taste this now, please?
Yeah.
So do you want to take us through a tasting of your dry gin, folks? Sure. Let's get into that, and then we can take the conversation from there.
So, well, I guess so. I guess everyone's got a wee glass or something. Usually for the tasting, we start with just a neat drink, so nothing else added to it, and I guess begin with a wee sniff, a wee smell of the kind of
a lovely nose.
Beautiful, isn't it? It's
really lovely nose.
So what we were aiming for was a very we didn't want a fancy gin. We wanted something. I mean, we're both getting on a bit traditional, and we thought the gin ought to be the same, you know, kind of. So we didn't want anything too flashy, too fancy. We just wanted a kind of a solid gin to kick us off. So that's what we were aiming for. We wanted a juniper forward, but we also had to work with a unique base spirit, because our alcohol is produced from bread, and in that respect we're different to any other gin that's made, and certainly in New Zealand, and in fact we're different to the vast majority of gins that are made around the world. There are one or two others that are made from bread, and we can talk about those in a wee while. And in fact, the fact that when we first started, the first thing we did really was to look and see, well, is anybody else making gin from bread? And in fact, at that time, there were at least a couple. I think one in Wales. They do. It's called bakery gin, or bakery gin. It's something like that. Anyway, it's a Welsh one.
It's bakery gin,
and
it's a Southern Wales distillery.
Mm.
And there's another one in Tasmania, and that's called Do Not Feed the Ducks, which is a great name. But I think they're primarily doing vodka rather than gin.
Okay.
It comes from bread, and somewhere in Holland as well, and they're doing a Geneva.
Okay.
Bread based, but very few.
We now know why.
Yes.
Well, before we get into the why, can we have a wee little sippy? I can see that there's some people saying that they are enjoying the nose, that they can really smell the citrus coming through already. I already snuck a little sip. You probably saw me do it. I couldn't stand it any longer.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, it is what it is. To me, one of the things that comes through after you get your first taste, one of the first things I get is a little bit of licorice coming through, as well as the coriander, and then certainly the citrus more towards the end. That's what I get.
And the cassia, you get that at the end.
That's true. Yeah.
I definitely got the cassia. Definitely. In fact, I got that quite early. Yeah. I would have thought. Like, it really hit me that, oh, what a lovely spice through here.
I think that's really what gives it the warmth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stunning.
But it has that background sweetness.
Yeah, I think so. That I thought, yeah, maybe it's just me, but I thought, yeah, it's quite a subtle, but it's a soft sweetness. It's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you drew a line between a London Dry and an Old Tom gin, ours is heading towards an Old Tom. It's nowhere near as sweet, but it's got that sort of character to it. I think.
We've had to learn how to use it, that sweetness, and rather than try and hide it.
And so for first stupid question of the night, for all of us out there that are going, okay, dry versus Old Tom, what's the difference?
Oh, Old Tom is 18th century gin. 19th century.
And I would notice it flavor wise because of what?
It's much sweeter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And quite in your face flavor wise.
I believe it was the forerunner to a London Dry. So when Old Tom gin was, there was bathtub gin, and then there was sort of somehow, I think that sort of merged into Old Tom gin. But basically sugar was added, I guess, to make it more palatable or what have you. And then they started developing the distilling techniques, and it evolved into a London Dry. But Old Tom's making a bit of a comeback, and there are some lovely Old Tom gins out there if you go hunting for them. Hayman's, I think, is the classic one, and that's made from an old family recipe. You know, I don't know if that's true, but anyway, it's
lots of recipes for it, but
yeah.
But it's because of the sweetness, a bit like ours, it blends itself quite well to a cocktail.
Yeah, yeah. And the sweetness in yours is the licorice plus the lemon oil, is it? That's giving it that sweetness as well?
A bit.
A little bit. Certainly a little bit coming through from the licorice. But the underlying, the base spirit that we make from the bread has itself a very, very subtle sweetness. And so when you layer things like the sweetness of licorice or citrus, or you know, on top, I think you kind of, it magnifies it, or you just get a little more sense of sweetness. I think because we're not using a neutral grain spirit, we're not using a spirit like lactanol as our base, and then adding flavour. We're starting with this. It's got a slightly, we're starting with a different base spirit to most gins.
And I think people don't realise quite how much the base spirit influences the end product, do they? You know, I think a lot of people, myself included, I was very much, well, you know, you're adding all these botanicals and everything. That's what's giving the flavour of the gin. But actually, if you're on bad bones, you're on bad bones, right?
And a lot. I mean, it isn't a clear spirit that we're starting with. So,
Yeah.
but it's quite, yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the breed base, and of course we'd love to hear the war stories as well. I'm sure there's been a few.
There's been some spectacular war stories, actually. I'll let Sue tell you about those.
Running a still and wondering why it's shooting out spirits. We'd forgotten to tie the water onto it, so it wasn't doing any cooling. And the whole distillery smelled. Oh, I'm surprised we weren't drunk.
On the fumes.
Yeah. We've had a lot. It's been a laugh. I mean, that's half of doing it. It's fun. But the bread really. We initially started just using plain white bread, but we discovered very early on we could use basically anything, not garlic naan.
Oh no, probably not.
That was very interesting.
Yeah.
Could that be in the R&D file though? That we could be a garlic naan gin.
Well, we didn't think there'd be much take up for it. It really didn't have a brilliant flavour.
It's interesting though, because the garlic, it must be the oils and the garlic or something like that survive the distillation, and they come all the way through. Whereas it's amazing the mix and variety of breads and bakery products that we can actually put into our mash. And it doesn't change the flavour at all. So we can put everything from literally raspberry buns at one end to sourdough, ciabatta, croissant, all goes into the mash. And a mash made of that will end up in a spirit that is, to our palates and to the palates of all the other people that we've tried it with, very, very little or almost no discernible difference to a mash that's got, a different, it might have date scones and rye bread and something else, and you don't really tell.
Yeah.
What the mashing process is, so just to explain that, is essentially it's taking the starches, the carbohydrate in bread, and breaking it down into simple sugars. Then you add yeast. The yeast eats the sugar. That makes alcohol, and it produces something a bit like a beer.
Like a very light beer.
Right.
Yeah. And no bitterness, because obviously we don't add hops. And then sits in a fermenter for a couple of weeks, and that produces alcohol at around about 9-10%. We take that then and start the distillation process. So we start with a stripping run just to get the alcohol out, and then we run it through a rectifying still to produce to get rid of the nasties, if you like, and to make a more refined spirit. And then the last step is to then take that and start the flavouring process with juniper and the usual gin botanicals.
Yeah. So how big is your still then?
Small.
Tiny. We've got 2 25-litre stills.
Wow. Okay.
Oh my goodness, you must have them running all the time.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. There's a lot of distilling goes on.
Yeah.
So it's quite a process.
Yeah.
And also given the fact that obviously the fermentation period is quite lengthy.
Yes. And it's longer in winter.
Oh, of course.
A significant difference. So our 60-litre fermenters have duvets around them to keep them warm.
Oh.
Nice touch.
Yeah. Snuggle them in. I love it.
They're very snug. Snug at the
I
back.
wanted tartan duvets, but Sue didn't like tartan.
Well, that would be very Dunedin of you, definitely.
She's determined to get tartan in there somewhere.
So Tom is asking, do you still get your bread from the same place? Is it all sourced from the same place, or are you
Basically,
around town?
no, we aren't hopping around town. We basically get 99% of our bread from Kiwi Harvest.
Oh, yeah.
And they get given far too much bread that they can't get. That they end up throwing a whole lot out, and so we're taking that off them, which saves them money because they don't have to dispose of it. And we get a bit from where we started at Artisan, which is they have an area that people can try new ideas, and they've got a cafe there, and they keep all their crusts from their sandwich making, and we go down every now and again and pick up a whole lot of bread from there. But in general, it's Kiwi Harvest.
Excellent. We do a bit of work with Kiwi Harvest, actually. In fact, probably everybody on this call probably knows about it, because there was a video that followed on every time that our live videos ended, was me outside Kiwi Harvest saying, can you please come down here and donate some food for Christmas? And that video keeps playing over and over again. So everyone's probably very familiar with Kiwi Harvest. Okay, so this is a great question, and one that I had as well. Would there be any gluten content left in your gin, considering you're using bread as a base? I know the answer because I've already tested it on myself, because I am gluten intolerant. I wouldn't be sitting here right now, I can tell you that.
It is.
It doesn't survive the distillation process is the short answer. So and in fact very few allergens actually do. So any proteins tend not to come through, and so, and we have actually we did, just to be absolutely confident about this, we did send samples of our gin off to the Eurofins lab in Auckland, and the test came back as no detectable gluten. But I think perhaps more importantly is we had to do some digging around as part of our food safety profile, wasn't it? So yeah.
That was something they wanted us to put it on the bottom.
Allergens and so on. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think there's a bit of a push to, for more declaration, or what do you declare and all the rest of it. But what's really interesting is we turned up some research that came through the European Food Safety Authority, and very, very few worldwide cases of anybody having allergic reactions as a result of a base of a spirit, of a distilled spirit. And if it does happen, it tends to be because it's been added in after distillation. So yeah,
definitely. I know I personally react to a couple of gins on the market, and that is because of after distillation stuff. It's not because of the base spirit. I thought it was because of the base spirit, but I stand very corrected on that. So Anne's saying, yay, she'll love to hear that her family member can drink the gin. And I must admit I was very delighted, because I felt like I was going to miss out otherwise. And I certainly didn't want to miss out on this one. Okay, so I've finished my my little sipper. So I'm going to move on to something I prepared earlier, which is just straight with tonic now, and just see how it holds in tonic. What's everybody else drinking it with, or are you just staying neat and pure tonight? Because let's face it, that is a delicious sipping gin. So what's everybody else mixing their Dunedin Dry with?
Sue, what have you mixed yours with? Just what tonic have you got?
I've got tonic in mine. I've just used the very simple, the traditional Fever Tree one, because that's what I had in the fridge. We found with the fancy tonics don't really do anything for it. Sorry, that's on silent. So
that was the best ringtone I've ever heard.
Sweats. Pardon?
That was a great ringtone.
Yeah, my husband calls it the rattlesnake. But I
Right,
can
so
hear.
Anne's trying it with tonic as well. What tonic are you trying it with, Anne? And Tom said he started with it straight. Don't know whether you'll move on from there, will you, Tom? Are you just going to stick with straight? This looks like Nikki's comment. I popped a slide of lemon and tonic in, and it's divine. So we know it's Nikki's comment because of the divine at the end.
It's her signature.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got lemon in mine. It's nice with cucumber too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and it's
Lovely.
of the flavoured tonics, the one that I think it's the nicest with is again the Fever Tree elderflower one.
Oh, yeah. That would be lovely. Yeah.
But Jenny, you're having yours with a...
Yeah, so mine is, I'm actually having a Tom Collins, or our take on a Tom Collins, and you can find the recipe for this on our website. So we just posted that up today, if you like. But basically,
Also
it's a good
tasting booklet.
What's that?
It's also in the tasting booklet for everybody. Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. So we did.
Yeah.
Yes.
We did.
Yeah. So really simple, easy to make, and it's kind of for those of you who know Dunedin, it's around about October, November. All the elderflower starts coming out, and they're all over the hillsides here and on the roadsides. It's a very popular local pastime to go gathering the elderflowers and making elderflower cordials and syrup. And so we sort of just adapted a standard Tom Collins and suggest using either elderflower syrup instead of simple syrup, or just get hold of a bottle of Barker's apple and elderflower syrup. It's delicious, and use that and top it up with soda. It's a slice of lemon. Yeah, so I prefer this personally to a gin and tonic.
I have my one already prepared.
Another one is actually with similar to what Jenny was describing, only using rhubarb syrup.
Oh.
Well, I'm pretty glad that you said that you could change the syrup, because I misread the instructions and I bought lime and elderflower syrup
that would work.
Okay, so phew. I was hoping it would be all right. I saw the elderflower and was like, that's the one, and then realized, oh no, it's lime. Oh well. Okay, so we've got some people saying that they are sipping it neat and loving it. Oh, okay, here we go. Tom has said he had 2 in his pack, as did everybody, because we gave one for Dad. Tom's obviously assumed the role of Dad as well, and he's drunk both of them. So he said the first was Fever Tree tonic, and he said it was great. And he's obviously having the second as a straight. So, okay, good job, Dad. Excellent. And then we've got somebody else saying they're having it with Schweppes tonight, but they're thinking that the elderflower would be absolutely lovely. I'm actually having it with Schweppes as well, because that was what was cold in my fridge tonight, and it's absolutely lovely. I often find that Schweppes for some gins makes it too sweet for me. It's too syrupy, and I like that, I like the Fever Trees and those sorts of ones, because they're a bit sort of a drier, bitterer kind of tonic. But this is absolutely lovely. And I know for the other gin drinker in my house, he's really enjoying it with the Schweppes as well. So, because he had his before we even tried the tasting, he started. Oh, okay, hang on. We've got some advice coming in from Anne. Barker's have some amazing mixes. The pink grapefruit and lemon is great. Okay, I haven't tried that one.
Grapefruit goes beautifully with it. Pink grapefruit.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
And is that because it really sides nicely with the lemon citrus that's coming through in the gin? So, because I think that's quite strong still. Is that why it goes so well with the grapefruit?
No, because I've had it with just squeezed grapefruit, pink grapefruit in Singapore as a long drink, and it's much more refreshing than with tonic. So I think, and that was just any old gin. I was probably with Bombay Sapphire actually.
Mm.
Oh, here we go. Christy is having it with grapefruit tonic. Well done, Christy. Good call. Lovely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I must admit that.
I've just put a block of ice in mine, and I have to say, it seems to release more of the licorice. That seems to come out, so I'm not quite sure. It just sort of surprised me. But still lovely, and it's really nice just the sipping.
I always think it's fascinating when you just add either a little bit of ice or a little bit of water to spirits, how much it can change the flavor profile that you get through. It's always a lot of fun, just a few drops of water.
Yeah, that's lovely. Very nice.
Okay, and I think you might be having to take a commission from Barker's, because it sounds like somebody's going to be trying to find the pink grapefruit and lemon to go with their gin. So well done. Well done on sharing that secret. That's great.
Well, there's another grapefruit one you can get, which is sold at some of the Countdown stores, which is a grapefruit syrup for soda streams, and that works. That would work too.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is a great comment from Tom. Sorry, I'm reading it, nodding, and then not showing everybody else it. So he says he thinks, simply put, it's also one of the more direct gins he's had in a while. By that I mean it's a no-nonsense gin that has appealed to my simple senses. And I think you've epitomized that, Tom. I really do, because I think you're absolutely right. This is a beautiful, beautiful, pure expression of what we expect from gin.
Well, that's what we set out to do, wasn't it, Jenny?
Very much so. Yeah.
Sounds like you've done it. Everybody's happy with that.
Cool.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Oh, Tom, good on you. After spending the day with the flood relief up here, we have many donated duvets. Let the suggestion team know if you need any. There you go. Yeah. Thank you, Tom. So if you need some more duvets, Jenny and Sue, to wrap around your, we can get them, we can arrange to have them sent to you. There we go.
Magic.
Fabulous. Fabulous. So,
thank you.
So back to the bread, because this really is fascinating, and you really are, I mean, in a lot of ways you're putting New Zealand on the map, because you're one of a few distillers in the world using bread as a base. Tom's just saying he has to go. See you, Tom. Bye. Nice of you to join us. Go and get a good night's sleep now after you've been working.
Thanks, Tom.
So yeah, take us a little bit back to, I know that you guys recognized that there was a problem, and I love the entrepreneurial spirit in that comment. There's a problem and we as entrepreneurs will solve it, as a surplus of bread. But did you know that you could make gin with bread prior to that? Did you know even how to go about it?
I didn't, but Jenny did. Jenny decided you could make alcohol.
Yeah. And then I decided quickly that gin would be a good thing to make. And just
on that.
Yeah.
And it was really after lockdown, wasn't it, that we?
It was really after lockdown that we put it into practice. Yeah. So the idea, I mean, before actually heading off and doing it, we did talk to quite a few people and just got a bit of feedback on the idea. But one of the key people actually was Deborah Manning, who's the CEO of Kiwi Harvest, the founder of Kiwi Harvest. And she was initially a bit sort of cagey about the idea and the association with alcohol and so on. But pretty quickly, I think came around and thought, yeah, actually this could be a really good thing. And Deb has been a fantastic advocate and support person since we started. Yeah. And it's really one of the lovely things has been seeing our collaboration with Kiwi Harvest develop over time, and it's a really nice mutually beneficial kind of arrangement that we've got.
Yeah, amazing. And so clever of you to spot it.
I was just like,
what sort of volumes of bread? So in order to make your mash, I mean, what sort of quantities of bread are we talking about here, Jenny?
25 kgs.
Sorry, Sue?
Between 25 and 28 kgs.
In a batch.
Yes.
So
right.
Okay, so how many loaves would that be approximately? I'm trying to work out. Like, bread's not that heavy.
About 700, 800 grams for a loaf, roughly.
It varies. We get rolled, a lot of rolls.
30, 35 loaves of bread. Maybe
it's quite a lot.
That is a lot of bread.
Yeah, it's a lot.
If you think of banana bots, it's about 4.5 of them stuffed full of bread.
And then once you've your mash has offered up what you're looking for, what do you do with it with the leftover product then?
Well, the leftover product, we squish basically the sugary syrup out of it.
Right.
And that's what goes to the fermenters. And what we're left with is this. It literally does look like squished, bread. That's and we mix it in with. We do put some malted barley into the mash as well. About 20% of the mash bill is malted barley, and we also add quite a lot of oat husk, and we do that because it makes it easier to strain.
Right.
So otherwise, you can imagine trying to get water out of flour and water paste. It just doesn't. It's not a happening thing. So so the combination of a little bit of barley and the oat husk really helps with the straining. Anyway, all the leftover solids, if you will. Initially, we tried. I up until fairly recently had a small herd of goats, and I was quite enthusiastic about feeding it to the goats, and the goats loved it. But it absolutely had to be super fresh, or it goes moldy very quickly. And as soon as it get even sort of a day or two later, the goats would snort and stamp their hooves, and that was the end of that. So it had to be dried, and it had to be dried anyway. You couldn't, and that just turned into a nightmare. So in the end, we came to an arrangement with the lovely people at Blueskin Nurseries down here. They've got a great big commercial compost, and we take our solids down and pops them in as commercial compost.
Oh, brilliant.
So
amazing.
That's where they go.
And
the other. Sorry, Sue.
With the water we use, so we drop the compost off at Blueskin Nurseries, and then on the way back pick up water from a friend of Jenny's with a tank on Mount Coggle. So that's rainwater we not.
Okay, right.
And the rainwater is a really important part of our gin. I mean, if you think about a bottle of gin that's 40% odd ABV, that means 60% of it's water. And so the water is important. And a lot of times you drink a gin and the water that's added to it, it'll be water that's been through something like a reverse osmosis filter. So it's had all the flavors literally stripped out of it. Yeah. There's nothing left. With our water, we don't do that. So we go and get the rainwater. We carry it down in 20-litre 20-litre buckets. It's hilarious. Put them in the back of the wee Suzuki. Come back into town with all this water. Hiff it into a barrel, and then it goes through a filter. So it goes through a carbon filter first, and then a UV filter. And what that does is it takes all the nasties out. But it leaves the flavour in. So when you're drinking our gin, you're actually drinking a little bit of Dunedin. It has the Dunedin terroir, if you will. And that's an important part of our products.
That's fabulous. And of course, you've recently moved premises, so you're now down at the waterfront, aren't you?
Yeah, and it's fantastic.
Exciting.
It's
Tell
really
us a little bit about that move and what you've left behind and what you've moved towards.
We left behind some lovely people and some wonderful friends that we'd made at Artisan Pantry, which is where we started out.
Right.
But the Otago Harbour Basin is, it's kind of sat there quietly for decades, I reckon, and it's really now starting to lift, and there's lots of interesting and exciting things happening in the Otago Harbour Basin, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's glorious on a good day. And on a howling gale, you just put on a hat and a coat, and it's good.
Actually, just being in our own premises, it frees up. We don't have to manipulate our mash production round when the big pan that we used to make the mash in, when it was free,
Right.
and we were also finding, because they were getting busier with pasta production, that the room where we did the distillation and the bottling had far more and more flour dust in the air. So everything had dust on it. We had to be really careful to keep it clean.
Mm-hmm.
So the move has made that, now that it's totally operational, that much better. And it's a lot.
And you have the capacity now to have guests.
Yes, we do.
We do have. We haven't quite got our full-on license yet. Full-off license, sorry. We've
Right.
got a remote sales license only.
So can people come and visit the distillery?
Yeah.
Yes.
They can come and visit. Strictly, we can't just do sort of ad hoc tastings, but hopefully in the next few weeks, once we get our licensing sorted out, that will be what we'll be doing for sure.
Ah,
Where
brilliant.
people can, if you're in Dunedin, we're going to be starting at the Otago Farmers Market once we're all released from our various lockdown thingies. I don't think the farmers markets will be operating till level 1, probably. Will they, Sue? Level
Level 1.
Yeah.
I don't
1?
think
Yeah.
I don't think they can operate at level 2 because they get too many people.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, we will be there.
That's brilliant.
Nikki's jumped over to YouTube now, so we can tell that it's Nikki. And she's in there saying, that's exciting, we can add you to our gin tour. I was thinking exactly the same thing, Nikki.
Cool.
Yes, yes. Gin tours coming our way very soon. Well, probably not so soon, actually, because we're still in lockdown. But yeah. That's very exciting, and very exciting for you guys as well, to be able to host guests. What's the uptake been like around Dunedin? Because obviously at the start it's quite local, isn't it?
Oh, very.
Lots of good support, and a steady, I would say, a steady uptake as people have got to know who we are and what we're doing. It's and sometimes it's a bit startling. A few weeks ago, we had a coach pulled up outside the distillery, and all these women of about our age all emerged from this bus. And Sue was away. We were still halfway between Artisan and Robert Street at that stage. Sue was away at Artisan, and I was the only one in there. And I thought, oh goodness, they're surely not coming here because we're next door to the chocolate factory. But they were going to the chocolate factory, but then they saw that we were doing gin, and so they were all sort of like scratching at the window and wanted to come in. And it turns out they were the convention of commercial fishermen's. The commercial fishermen had their conference in Dunedin, and they were the wives, and they were on a tour, and said, "Look, we want to come in." And so and they were lovely. But
of course, you opened the door, didn't you, Jenny? Yes,
of course they did. Of course they did.
It was a safety issue. You couldn't keep the door closed.
That's right. There would have been an incident on the street.
Oh, that's great.
So one of the other things that I know that you do is you actually have produced a fabulous cacao vodka as well.
We have.
Was that your first? Was that your first? I guess product.
No.
No, the gin was the first.
Okay.
Yeah, but we thought we needed to, think about other options. And I mean, to me, it's. I think I like to think about botanical spirits, because gin isn't everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Hard to believe, but yes.
Hard to believe.
Yeah,
But
like,
some people, the juniper thing
some
is
people have
just
defective genes or something, and they just don't like gin.
but it is nice, I think, to to have a think about what the what other botanicals can benefit from swimming about in a bit of nice base spirit, and interesting to see what happens. And the cacao, we were very fortunate to be have working with us the foodsmith, Jane Armour, who you met, Fraser, who had been instrumental in setting up or been part of the very early Ocho before it became Ocho. And she said, "What about cacao as a flavouring?" So we tried that.
And we started calling it chocolate vodka, but chocolate in people's minds is sweet, and it's not. It's actually a very dry. It's bitter chocolate.
It's almost bitter, isn't it? Yeah.
And that is one drink that is beautiful over ice after dinner. It's just.
I imagine it would be.
Yeah. And it goes beautifully with the base spirit. It's something about the base spirit and the cacao together that's lovely.
Would you experiment with gin?
Yeah, I was just going to ask the same question, Fraser. Might we see a cacao gin?
Yeah.
Probably. Don't know.
Don't know.
We like it with just as it is.
And don't muck around with something that's already right. Christy is asking, how much gin are you producing at the moment?
Not enough.
That's always a good problem to have, right? It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it is. We aren't producing enough yet. We're working very hard at the moment to try and work out how we can increase our volume, but without losing our little craft ideas.
Yeah. So we certainly do want to increase it. At the moment, we're about 16 litres a week, just to give you. So it's very small. Very, very small.
So everybody out there listening to this, you are very lucky to have it in your box. That's what that translates to. We were very, very lucky to get this in the box, and we were very excited when we were able to. So, be very thankful is all I can say, because we certainly are.
And we do have some stock that we can ship. So if you want a full bottle, get onto it straight away, because we'll have some stock to send out the next day or two. So
yes. I'm glad. So here's a great comment just come up. Don't know who that's from, but really excited to see this one. Thanks, guys. And that's exactly right. We really wanted to, as soon as Fraser said when he started the top of the hour, when we started the interview, we really did want to. As soon as we heard what you guys were doing, we were like, wow, that is. I mean, it's Kiwi ingenuity at its best, almost solving problems that we have, and yeah, we were just so excited when you guys were like, yes, we'll be part of the box. So. And yeah, the love continues. Very thankful. Somebody else is saying, awesome, I'll be out for a bottle. Yeah.
Can I just say that you related the story of carrying this rainwater, preciously gathered rainwater, down to, it is being valued and appreciated. There have been a couple of comments about, first time Christy made a comment about Mount Cargill would give really beautiful fresh water. And someone else was saying, I love the idea of the pure fresh rainwater. And I think that's part of the whole story of your brand. Is that it's sorry, Sue?
Very much so. It's very much so part of our brand.
Yeah. And even, some of you might not know, but you've done a rebranding, and so your new labels, I think, are fabulous. So those of you ordering about it, when you get it, have a look. It's a beautiful label that is just, I think just lovely, and it's part of the whole bigger brand. I think it's overall it's a brilliant story, and people do appreciate it, and people love that.
Yeah.
Nice. It's good to know.
Yeah, I know you guys slave and toil for us to enjoy some gin, and it's so nice for us to be able to share the story behind the distillers who are slaving and toiling. And I still have the visual of you guys carrying the rainwater, lugging the buckets of rainwater, so then we can enjoy a drop of gin.
Thank you. I think the picture of us dumping the compost is probably funnier because we have gumboots on, and it's not a nice.
Feel free to share that. We're really happy to share that on our Facebook pages and the behind the scenes of making gin. Yeah.
Not at all glamorous.
No. Absolutely. Oh, lovely. All right. Any last
It's more
comments?
fun than toil, I would have to say, though.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I know certainly I will be looking you up when I come down to Dunedin, when we come down and visit your neck of the woods. It might be on a gin tour, but it might be just on our own little gin tour, which is certainly top of the list to come and visit you folk in your distillery.
Yeah.
Folks, any last questions or comments or feedback for either Sue or for Jenny around themselves and the work they're doing or the fabulous gin they're producing? I'm curious to know if there's anything else in the pipeline, but I'll let them sit with that for a moment while I just. So any more questions, any comments, please put them in the comment box, and we'll make sure we get to them just before we go. Otherwise, we're going to start to wrap this up. Anything in the pipeline? Sue, Jenny, that you're happy to disclose?
We're having ideas at the moment. At the moment, we're also finding the time to do it has been a bit of a struggle, but we're just about to get delivered a small experimental still, so we can try out new things in a small amount.
And
Very small amount.
I think whatever we do, front and centre will always be around upcycling, around sustainability, and about making something delicious from things that would otherwise go to waste. I mean, that's really at the heart of what we do. So it may be that we there's an awful lot of beautiful foods that disappear into landfill or go to waste that could be readily repurposed into delicious spirits. And so yes, we're thinking fairly broadly, and there's some interesting opportunities on the near horizon. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, but what we do know is that it's unlikely to be garlic naan gin.
Yes, that was nice.
Yeah. So, folks, it's just as always, it is the absolute highlight of my week when I get chance to sit down and enjoy a gin and to just have a good corridor with some of the distillers who are producing extraordinary stuff that are going to make up the amazing New Zealand craft distilling industry. So, Sue and Jenny, thank you so much firstly for your gin. It's brilliant. Thank you for your creating a new narrative around where gin needs to come from and where the alcohol needs to come from, and the whole sustainability piece. I think is a powerful story. I think it's impactful, and it's modeling, I guess, what we're hoping we'll all do in different ways is just find ways to be more sustainable. And so that's lovely, and it's a great story. It's a great gin. You're both fabulous. Love having you on the show tonight. So thank you so much for that. And also thank you for being part of our suggestion box. I think it's been a lovely complimentary gin with all the others that we've had, and it certainly stacks right up there with some of the extraordinary stuff we've had. So thank you very much indeed for everything around that. We really do appreciate and value, and look forward to being part of your growth and your journey over the years to come.
Well, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure taking part in this and another wee adventure for us. So thanks so much for giving us this opportunity, and thanks to all of the people out there who have no idea who you are, but thank you for tuning in. And if you're in Dunedin, drop by Otago Harbour Base and come and see us in Robert Street. We love to have visitors. So thank you.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Yeah. So everybody, the door is apparently open to the distillery in Dunedin for you all. So make sure you let them know that you heard from them on suggestion, so then they can put a name to a face. That would be absolutely amazing. And we really look forward to keeping up the conversation with both you and you, Jenny, and you, Sue, and the rest of the team at Dunedin Craft Distillery, because we know there's going to be some amazing things coming out of your corner of the world, that's for sure. So yeah, fabulous having the evening with you guys tonight.
Cool.
So
Thanks,
last
Jen.
word from me. If your bottle looks like mine at the moment, there's not a lot there, but actually there's still a need, then that's what you want. That's your QR code. Get onto that straight away. We can get a bottle off to you pretty quickly and help ease the pain of the lockdown if you're still living through level 4, and certainly for those who are level 3, maybe a little something to celebrate. So folks, it's as always, we're here to support you. We're here to bring you an opportunity to try a whole range of really cool, different, exciting, interesting gins. Some of them are extraordinary and to really suit your palate, others might not be. That's the whole point of it. Yes, promote New Zealand craft distilling and the people who are driving it, because that's who we are and what makes us fabulous. So we are back next week. Next week, it's Wednesday evening. So again, we're changing it up. So last week was Monday, this week Tuesday, next Wednesday, and the final one in this box is going to be the Thursday night. So next week, Wednesday, 7:30, same place, same time. We're looking at the third gin in the box. But we will see you then. And of course, if you've got any questions or comments or feedback for Jenny or for Sue, please just put them in the comment box. We will still make sure they get them and keep the conversation going. And also tell us how you're experimenting with your gin and what you're finding works brilliantly. Always useful information, and comments and feedback are always welcome. Folks, thank you once again. Lovely to have you with us. Sit safe. You don't have to drive anywhere. Sit safe and have another gin if you have it. Good night, folks.
Ka kite.
Bye-bye.